Before I start, I just want to tell Upasana that last time I interviewed Sahil, and they have gone for IPO, and I'm hoping the same for you. So maybe I am the lucky guy. I'll take all the credit. But good to see so many women founders. If we can just do a raise of hand, like how many entrepreneurs here in the room? Okay, and then investors. Okay, good. Good to see more founders than investors. So I think Upasana, by the way, Upasana and I are good friends, neighbors. I know Upasana for last 8 years. And I've seen some part of journey of MobiKwik. I'm not on the board or anything like that, but it's one company which I think is very resilient. And I'll let her talk. But given what has happened in fintech, there has been like companies which have raised billions of dollars, and Paytm with all their IPO. I would not say much about it. We have seen how it has went. It's an overall market environment as well. But MobiKwik has really survived and thrived in this whole journey. So that's why I thought, and Upasana being a woman founder, it's very inspirational to see. And by the way, what I have heard is कि MobiKwik में कुछ काम कराना है तो Upasana के पास जाओ. I don't know if you guys know, but it's a couple, husband-wife team. And I'll let Upasana share the story how they met, because that's also quite inspiring. Upasana, if you can start a bit about your childhood, and also like you went to Stanford. So if you can share about your journey coming up to like MobiKwik, which you started about 12 years ago, right?
That's right.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so very simple, modest childhood, lower middle class upbringing. Grew up in Surat in Gujarat. So there was a little bit of entrepreneurial culture, because Gujarat, as you know, is the state of hustle. And but my parents, both teachers. My father was a physics professor, mom was a music teacher, and I'm a Kashmiri Pandit by birth. So in our families, the focus is on academia. Padho likho. Pehle it was sarkari job, then it became MNC job, but engineer, doctor, and the makings like that. So this whole concept about being an entrepreneur, doing a business, like I'm the first generation entrepreneur in my family, father's side, mother's side, all of that put together. So growing up, I was not sure that I would, but I got along easily with people. I adapt very quickly. So did my schooling from Surat, did my engineering in industrial engineering from Jalandhar. And I had other engineering schools I could have gone to, like REC, Trichy or Warangal. But I wanted to do industrial engineering. And why? Because there were 60 guys in the class and there were like 3 of us girls. So it was very exciting that we were going to do, and we were going to do better at foundry and carpentry and all of those early classes in the first few years. And then post-graduating, 2001, 9/11 happened. So economy was going down, and I thought that I should go study. And of course, my parents were always कि यार हम यहाँ तो PhD से कम में नहीं चलता है, तो masters तो कर ही लो. So I applied to several schools for a master's in engineering, and I actually got a full scholarship at Purdue, University of Pennsylvania, एक दो और थे. But I got very randomly Stanford में admission, which was, I don't think मेरे college से कभी किसी को मिला है. In fact, most of my classmates were making fun of me, because every application fee also costed like anywhere from $50 to $100. This I'm talking 20 years ago. Like क्यों पैसे बर्बाद कर रही है अपने पापा के? Stanford में तो IIT दिल्ली और बॉम्बे को ही मिलता है, और किसी को मिलता ही नहीं है इंडिया से. So I was like, नहीं ऐसे कैसे? मेरा GRE स्कोर इतना फाड़ू है, एंड मेरा टोफल भी बढ़िया है, एंड मैं बहुत अच्छा ऐसे लिखूंगी, ऐसे कैसे? मतलब करना तो चाहिए. सो आई हैड अप्लाइड. सो आई गॉट द एडमिशन. आई वाज वेरी प्लेजेंटली सरप्राइज्ड. बट जाएं कैसे? वहाँ पे एक क्वार्टर की फीस was $10,000. So $6-7 lakh rupees. And my dad was like, यार ये तो मेरी पूरी बैंक अकाउंट का बैलेंस है, तो मतलब ये तो 3 महीने में खत्म हो जाएगा. So this is not happening. So I'm revealing this story in detail because this is my first entrepreneurial hustle. So my sister came up with a scheme. She's like, देख US तो जाना ही है, flight ticket तो लगनी ही है. So what you do, you take Purdue या UPenn में से एक को confirm कर दे. But you know, you fly to SF. एक मेरे friends हैं वहाँ पे रहे. And before college starts, 1 month before, go there and try to hustle and try to get a full scholarship, research या teaching assistantship. And मिल गई तो ठीक है, नहीं मिली तो just fly from there to Purdue and just start college over there. So I was like, ये बढ़िया try कर सकते हैं. So I went 5 weeks before college was starting. I went there and मैं रोज Sunnyvale से 2 quarter बस में डाल के Palo Alto, Stanford जा रही हूँ. वहाँ उतर के लैब में बैठ के पहले लोगों को emails calls करके meetings ले रही थी. I tried that for the first 10 days or so. Then I was like, नहीं बहुत time waste हो रहा है. I could have emailed them sitting in India also. So door to door. I started door to door and there are about 150 labs on the Stanford campus. It's a huge campus. If you guys have seen IIT Delhi or Bombay, usko 10x kar lo, itna bada hai. So I met with all these people. I met some seniors. They said कि यार you're an engineer, coding कर लेती है. मैंने कहा हाँ. तो कहते why only go to science and engineering? Go to all the labs. Like School of Music को भी coder चाहिए. They also need to make some database, some website. So I like बहुत बढ़िया. So I increased my outreach. Long story short, Monday college is starting. Last day to put in fees. And today is Thursday and I receive a call from one of the labs. तो अभी तक कुछ नहीं हुआ है. So I'm like fully in this internal रोने धोने वाला mode that इस weekend पे मुझे fly करके Purdue जाना है क्योंकि अब कुछ नहीं हो सकता. Monday last day. Thursday I get a call from one of the labs. There's a Stanford linear accelerator, one of the linear accelerators in the 7 in the world. तो वहाँ से मुझे एक lab के head से phone आया कि why don't you come tomorrow? We want to interview you again. So I said, tomorrow, can we do it today? Like I explained how this is life critical for me. So nothing doing. They said, no, tomorrow. Tomorrow, second half. मैं वहाँ सुबह 10 बजे, 9:30 बजे ही पहुँच गई. And the manager at the lab is like, the boss lady, she's not available before lunch. So पहले मैंने उसको पटाया, अच्छे से समझाया, explained this whole thing कि look, I'm a very poor Indian woman, ये मेरा dream है, and you know, you can be the ticket to my dream and all of that, and you know, I'll work so hard. So उसने, he was on page, then he got me to meet the boss over lunch. तब तक मैंने hang out किया उसकी lobby में उसको और कुछ काम भी कर दिया साथ में बैठे. So I went and met the boss. Second time, she remembered she had met me briefly 2 weeks ago, and she asked me all the questions. Then I gave her an earnest pitch that, you know, I'm required to work 20 hours for this full assistantship. You forget about that. आपको जो काम करना है वो मैं सब करके दूंगी. अब वो 20 hours लगे या 50 hours लगे, you'll never find a more hardworking person. But you got to make this work for me, and you've got to give me, ये नहीं कि 6 months का. If you're gonna give me a research assistantship, you've got to give it to me for 2 years. Because that's the only way I can study. Otherwise, I've got to catch a flight to Purdue. She made a few calls. She confirmed कि admission है, fees नहीं भरी है, all of that, and she wrote me the $100,000 check. Wow. And that is how I studied. Amazing, so this was my first entrepreneurial moment where I thought कि खुद इंसान कर सकता है. You can be a self-made person.
Yeah. If you look at both the investor side and you look at the entrepreneurial side, it's largely led by male population, which is quite sad. If you go to Indonesia, it's a different story. So also I was looking at some stats. So only 18% of Indian women work. This is poorer than Bangladesh and Pakistan. Pakistan is 20% and Bangladesh is 30%. And Indonesia is 55% and US is 57%. So I think we need more women founders to come. So coming back, Upasana, so Stanford you did, and then after that, great hustle story. So I think one thing which is very common between what I've seen successful founders is the hustle, right? No matter what, you got to make it work. So how did you know, like you stayed in US and then why did you come back to India? It's such an amazing place. And for a girl from, you know, small town, it's like, you know, in the Bay Area, best weather.
Not just best weather. So I was a product manager at PayPal. I had already become senior product manager. So the next cycle was director. And Google, Facebook, they were all calling because they were also making payment teams, and they were like,
oh, sorry, how was the class at Stanford? Like, what was the women's?
so what was the ratio in the class? It was much better. I can't say it was 50-50, but maybe 60-40, 65-35 exactly. I can't highlight. And by the way, a very diverse population. So Stanford has a big thing that they want to get as much of the international diaspora as possible. So 50% is Americans and Canadians, North Americans, and 50% is international. So lots of people from Europe, people from Israel, India. I had a classmate from Pakistan. She went to Lahore Institute of Management Studies. So fairly diverse. So I think that comes together very nicely. You get a very good vantage point into how different people are thinking. So that was nice. And then I made a good life for myself work-wise. So I was always super hardworking and focused. I had a Kawasaki Ninja, a black motorcycle, red convertible car, bicycle, तीनों चलाती थी मैं. And my father is like, तू एक इंसान है, 2-bedroom flat ले रखा है Mountain View में और 3 travel के mediums रखे हैं. तो मैंने कहा रोज अलग-अलग चीजें करती हूँ. And then, a lot of people have this aspiration that they want to build a life there, and they hustle many years. In fact, I know some people in my family also to get a green card. And if you do a master's there, you have a fast track. So I got that also very rapidly. But yeah, I decided in 2008, I had come in Jan for my annual vacation. And I was just contemplating what next. Like I said, US mein at that time, Zynga was happening, Facebook was happening and all of that. And I was like, whether I do payments or whether I do any other consumer tech, it's all incremental. It's not as if like, if I'm building payments, it's not as if कि वहाँ पे किसी के पास POS machine नहीं है. मतलब छोटे से छोटे coffee shop के पास भी POS machine है. Right. And every individual has a card. So you're trying to build incremental convenience. Versus if I do something in emerging markets, whether it's India or Brazil, or it will be more impactful because यहाँ तो वो products or services हैं ही नहीं. Correct. So that is what brought me back to India.
So PayPal, you were there for about 4 years, 5 years?
3 years at PayPal, and prior to that, almost 1.5 years at HSBC also. So San Diego and
how and I think it's another interesting story. So how did you meet your co-founder and husband, Vipin?
That's a very, very simple story. But before that, I wanted to tell you, the same parents who were very gung-ho about me going there, studying there, living there, I had to fight with them. So I think I'm highlighting this because I think you spoke about the ratio of women working and studying. See, I mean, I come from a very educated family, so no one has ever stopped me from exploring education or work, whatever I want to do. But many families may it's reverse also. Like I have had friends where they've had to fight. So in this instance, I had to fight with my parents.
To come back?
Yeah, because they were like, you can't give up this cushy life, you're making good money, you have a green card, you'll be set there. And also my sister had settled there. So, matlab more pressure, ki karna kya hai India ke? My parents were in Africa at the time. So why are you coming back to India right now?
Yeah.
So I fought with them for 2 months. I didn't speak with them on the phone. I was like, आप रोज मेरे को phone करके यही बोलते हो. I've decided what I'm going to do, and I think it's best. So let me just finish my relocation, and then I'll talk to you.
So basically, Dil Hai Hindustani wali story.
So and then the idea was that I'll take a year to create a professional network because I'd gone 7 years ago. So I had to create a network, find the right partners, team, and idea bhi flesh out karungi. And then within a year or so, I should get started. I think within a month or maybe slightly more than a month of coming here, I happened to meet Bipin at a social event. It was very hilarious. A friend of mine had invited 10-15 of us to watch a play. Play was a hilarious play called What Women Want.
Everything.
Rajat Gupta ka play tha, and it was in India Habitat Center, I remember. And my friend, and I had just moved back, and I had already bought a car and I was driving, self-driving from Noida to India Habitat Center in CP. And tab Google Maps nahi the. So he was handed over the phone to give me directions because he also worked in Noida. So he could give me step-by-step directions. Ki ab yahan se left, low, right, low. So that was my first connect with him. After the play, we all went for some dinner and drinks, and people were talking about movies, politics, travel, and I think both of us said the word startup while talking to people. So we heard, then we connected, and that's sort of how we got started, became friends, and inspired each other. So before, when I met him, he had already thought of the idea of MobiKwik. He had already set up a basic website, and he was tinkering with the idea, but he had not fully committed to it. So I think that meeting each other, talking about it, and that this is really something we need to do, sort of created positive effect.
So
both sides.
He was at a job, basically, right?
He was working as a chip architect at Freescale Semiconductor in Noida, and prior to that he had been with Intel and Nvidia in Bangalore and some stints in the Bay Area as well.
And just to cover the story, he's a Sardar.
He is. नहीं, but ऐसे क्यों बोल रहे हो? We should be biased against Sardar.
You said you didn't want to date a Sardar.
No, I didn't date. Like organically, I was in the guard of Punjab.
Okay.
But I did not date. I dated a Punjabi Hindu guy, but I never dated a Sardar. So this is an anecdote.
Okay, got it.
Fully turban. Fully turban.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he still wears a turban. So उसके बाद फिर क्या हुआ then after the?
फिर 6 months later, I convinced him to quit his job, and he was the sole breadwinner of his family at the time. So parents and younger 2 siblings. Sister had just started working. भाई अभी भी पढ़ रहा था, and he's like हम कैसे करेंगे manage? So I was like तेरे पास 1 साल के पैसे हैं? He's like हाँ मेरे पास 1 साल के पैसे हैं. मैंने कहा तो फिर कर लेते हैं. 1 साल के अंदर कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा. नहीं हुआ तो वापस मिल जाएगी. मतलब
job.
कोई ना कोई MNC तो दे देगी बढ़िया job. क्या problem है? So it was big. It was actually a big
step for him.
Because his family had also dealt with lots of financial troubles in 1984, actually, because their entire business was burned down, and they never recovered from the financial loss and the psychological impact of that.
Right.
And their financial circumstances had only improved in 2002 when Vipin had graduated from IIT Delhi and started working in these high-paying jobs. So it was a big step for him.
Yeah.
But उसको थोड़ा सा push चाहिए था, वो मैंने दे दिया. So he took the gutsy move.
So did you negotiate a better shareholding for yourself?
Okay, so here is the thing. The day Vipin quit his job and he started MobiKwik, by that time we were already dating each other. So I was like, यार ये लफड़े में नहीं पड़ना है कि मेरे को अपनी personal life और professional life entangle नहीं करनी है. So what I told him, I'll always work free pro bono volunteer, because तब तक भी मैं अपना idea और team figure out कर रही थी. I'll help you put together the team, तुम उनके साथ करो. I'll always help you on the side. Why should we entangle our lives even more? कहीं पे भी लड़ाई होगी तो दोनों चीजें हिल जाएगी. So we started with that. Right. We started in August 2009. He started with a team that he had made in the previous 6 months of 2-3 people. And वो team उस साल के end तक ही चली. By October, November, उन लोगों ने हाथ खड़े कर दिए. Even though they were still working, and he was not. So they were still earning, and they were working evenings and weekend. And they were like, यार 3 महीने हो गए अभी तक 2 million यूजर नहीं आए. He's like, are you mad? Like अभी तो launch किया है, 2 महीने में कौन से million users आने वाले हैं? अब तो करना है. अभी तो we have to do marketing, SEO, all of that. So they disappeared, and even then I didn't relent. I supported him emotionally, but he kept doing it. So he used to work 22 hours. वो coding भी करता था, business development भी कर रहा था, customer support भी कर रहा था, और business बन भी रहा था.
Amazing.
And I think Feb 2010 is when I joined him full time, because I could see that this business is taking shape. And I was like, why am I so hell-bent कि कुछ और ही करना है? मेरे दिमाग में ये भी था कि मुझे payments नहीं करना है, अभी तो payments करके आई हूँ.
Correct.
And he's like, it's such a large opportunity. This country is gonna go down the mobile internet revolution. Why don't you want to capitalize on the skills that you already have? Like, this is foolish कि मुझे कुछ अलग करना है. Even though you know and you've just done it in the US, you just have to replicate and customize it for the Indian market. And I think that's when I decided to shelve all my ideas that I was still tinkering with, and I decided to join hands. And I think that was a good propeller.
So you are not married with him?
At that time, no. We married a few more years later.
Okay. So फिर shareholding का क्या हुआ?
ओके सो शेयर होल्डिंग हमारी ऐसे थी कि शेयर होल्डिंग हमने की एट दिस पॉइंट कोई शेयर होल्डिंग नहीं की. आई विल टेल यू क्या किया. मैंने ये किया कि मैं आई, मैंने कहा अब हम फर्स्ट 2-3 एम्प्लॉइज़ हायर करेंगे और हमने कुछ डील्स भी की, B2B डील्स की, जिससे रेवेन्यू भी आना शुरू हो गया. मतलब रेवेन्यू आ गया तो उसकी अपनी तनख्वाह भी निकल रही थी. रिमेंबर ही स्टिल अ ब्रेड विनर. मैंने कहा मुझे नहीं चाहिए, एंड जो सरप्लस है उससे एक कोडर, एक इंजीनियर, फर्स्ट इंजीनियर हायर किया, फर्स्ट सपोर्ट का बंदा हायर किया, तो टीम बनानी शुरू कर दी. एंड वी बूटस्ट्रैप्ड इट टिल द एंड ऑफ 2013. तो 4 साल हमने बूटस्ट्रैप किया इसको. एंड when we were at that stage we were profitable. कुछ करोड़ों बना रहे थे प्रॉफिट में. 35-40 एम्प्लॉइज थे.
So 2014.
End of 13, December 13, early 2014 तक we had users 10-15 crores sitting in the bank account, like the money parked in the MobiKwik wallet by users.
So you still didn't have shareholding till that point?
I didn't have shareholding at that point.
Wow. You're such a nice person actually.
अभी और भी चीजें थी, don't worry about that. I was not giving up my shareholding. It was on email, let me put it this way. It was on email. Sorry? Yes. We started taking salary. We started taking salary. I gave myself a good title also. उस सब का कोई fight नहीं था. But अब shareholding तो clean up भी करनी थी ना वो.
But you were married by 2014 to him.
Yeah. We married in 11. We got married in 11. So वो सब कर लिया. And then when we raised the first check from Sequoia, we had some 35-40 employees. We were profitable. तो हमें पैसों की इतनी ज़रूरत नहीं थी. And we had the RBI license. By the way, the license got written by the Reserve Bank of India after we started. And we were one of the early recipients of the prepaid wallet license. And I mean, it was evident कि बिना कोई marketing या कुछ के अपने product बना लिए, and people are coming and parking their money and paying all their bills with it.
Right.
So then we said कि अब पैसे raise करते हैं, अब इसको scale up करेंगे. And every year subsequently we raised Series A के बाद B में we got American Express, Cisco, and Sequoia put in more money. So Series A में जब Sequoia से पैसे लिए तब हमने अपनी शेयर होल्डिंग SHA सब कुछ ठीक से किया. मेरी शेयर होल्डिंग थोड़ी सी कम है.
Okay.
उसका भी एक रीजन है, nothing to do with Bipin but more to do with Sequoia. Along the way I had also created another B2B payments company, ZacPay, and Sequoia had also seed invested in that. So they said कि अब अगर हम इसमें 2.5 million डाल रहे हैं और उसमें भी हम they had put in maybe 500,000 or something. So you either merge them or make one the subsidiary of the other, so that all your aspirations, consumer payments, B2B payments are all in one pot.
Correct.
And the shareholding is in one holdco. तो वो जब किया तो Sequoia ने ZacPay की वैल्यू MobiKwik से कम रखी. So मेरी शेयर होल्डिंग थोड़ी कम है Bipin से, but फिर भी substantial है.
Well done. So now, like a lot of women like who have started businesses, they have this doubt कि when to raise money, and in terms of कि मतलब venture capitalist or vulture capitalist आके shareholding ले जाते हैं.
I didn't say it, he said it.
तो like what's your advice to them, because you know you have raised from some of the marquee names. तो कब जाएं, कुछ scale पे जाएं, yeah.
So I think it depends completely on the team and the people. So I think that if your idea is such that you won't need too much capital, then you should first try to establish product market fit. Because the more you establish product market fit, सीधी सी बात है, you will be able to dilute less of your company and raise more money.
Yeah.
And जितना आप PPT या concept पे raise करोगे, you know, and also I don't really know what is wrong with some of these early stage they are called angels by the way, but I would call them vultures only. कुछ तो ऐसे है कि they'll be like,
दो बैठे हैं यहाँ पे सामने.
सर 60%, कोई बोल रहा है मेरे को तो किसी ने टर्म शीट दी है, give me 50%, 60% of the company for this much. I'm like, why? Like आप पहला चेक कर रहे हो, मतलब 15% सोचो आप, इतना कहाँ सोचोगे, अभी तो आपको बहुत बनाना है.
Correct.
So I think that, but in B2B ideas, I would still say if your concept is not consumer facing, which means you don't need marketing dollars for user acquisition, and you can put together a small team without raising too much money, raise some friendly angel money is what I would say, seed money, and get some traction.
How does that friendly angel money helps you? What does it do for you?
Friendly angel money means people that you know, that you have worked with in the past. The way it works it will be on simple and fair terms. Some might even give you convertible, which is that जब आप पहला major series A करोगे उसके कुछ discount पे convert कर देना, मेरे को दे देना. So it will be simple terms. अगर अब आजकल तो लोग series A में 50 million ले रहे हैं, तो जिसने 50 million दे लिया वो तो ऐसे चाबुक घुमाएगा. You run, you Mr. Founder, you Miss Founder, you just keep running and you do what I tell you to do. You don't want to be in that position. You have the vision, you know what you want to achieve. You need to have the reins in your own hand as to how you're going to build the business.
One thing, Upasana, you have made, or you and Bipin have made a lot of pivots in the business and also faced some very difficult and tough competition like, Paytm, then Freecharge, then PhonePe, then Google Pay. इतने पे हो गए कि भारत पे ये आदमी गिन ही नहीं सकता.
आपको पता नहीं, ऐसा एक जोक है कि कोई भी कंपनी चालू कर लो इंडिया में, उसके नाम में पे डाल दो, सिकोया फंड कर देगा.
वैसे हमारी भी एक है
PE डाल दो या PAY डाल दो, सिकोया फंड कर देगा.
हाँ, हमारी भी एक .pay, but so my question is like how, मतलब between you and Bipin left your great jobs, you left America. So when you were seeing this kind of onslaught, because this was like, valuations of Paytm were going nuts. And as a company, how did you, like, what was that timing like for personally and professionally as well? Like, how did you decide to raise, when? There must be a lot of pressure is what I'm saying. And 2015 was not a great time, because Flipkart was going through a bit of depression, etc.
Yeah, so see, Series A and B was smooth for us. 2014 में हो गया, next year Series B तो ऐसे ही हो गया. मेरे को बिना इंडिया से बाहर गए ही Series B हो गया. लोग investors यहाँ आके दे रहे थे पैसे. Series C was, you'll remember 2015 में भी काफी shake-up हुआ था.
Correct.
What is that? Housing का हुआ और Tiny Owl हुआ and all of that.
Flipkart also went through rough time, yeah.
So that's when we realized कि fundraising is hard. And also, I think at that 2015, if I'm not mistaken, is when Paytm raised the first $1 billion check from Alibaba.
Correct.
So it was hard. आप किसी से भी, कोई अलीबाबा के अगेंस्ट पैसा लगाना ही नहीं चाहता. इतनी बड़ी बैलेंस शीट दे दी है अलीबाबा ने Paytm को, तो it was hard. So but we hustled, and दुनिया इतनी बड़ी है. There will be contra players always. There will always be contrarian people. So what happened in Series C, we raised some small money from financial investors, but we got a substantial chunk from a strategic investor called Net1.
Okay.
It's a South African company listed on Nasdaq, and they wanted to enter India at that time. And instead of entering directly, if they partnered with us, it would have been a very fast and smooth landing for them. They ultimately changed their plans, but हमें क्या है, investment तो हो गई. So like that. So we raised $40 million from them.
So basic idea is ki raise, don't worry about, kind of keep raising in the sense ki
keep raising and also keep your costs in control. And also I also think that don't think too much about कि लोग अपने models understand कि आपके competitive ecosystem में क्या हो रहा है, but you cannot compete with your competitor with the same strategy.
Correct.
तो उनकी strategy अलग है. You have to take a different path, and like you can't compete on the marketing dollar. Like Google से कौन compare करेगा? $1 trillion company है. अब मैं क्या उससे compete कर सकती हूँ?
Correct.
So you have to take a path which is different. We know that उनका path ये है, they'll acquire lots of users, give lots of freebies. They just want to understand financial data so that they can sell better ads. That's fine. I want to go deep in the users. The user has a phone. On the phone is my app. I want to go deep with the user. So that's why we launched BNPL, then insurance, so that we can fulfill that journey of credit. And again, not for people like us, but most of India is still unserved on financial products.
Correct.
But to answer your question, there are difficult days. There are days when you want to hide below your comforter and not come out of the bed. But I think resilience is important. Like, it's like सबने Rocky की movies तो देखी होगी. If you decide you don't give up, let the other guy keep hitting you, punching you, you just don't give up. You just keep standing back up. तो क्या होगा? कुछ नहीं होगा.
Right.
People cannot force you to stop building your company. Which is exactly why you need to make sure when you raise money, you raise the right kind of money. You need to have supportive investors. They need to know what is your vision. Like मेरा vision ये नहीं था कि मतलब किसी बड़े फंड से बहुत सारा पैसा ले लो और उसके बाद डेट लेके उनको बाय आउट कर दो या किसी भी वैल्यूएशन पे उनका आईपीओ करा के उनको एग्जिट दे दो. मतलब व्हाट्स इन इट फॉर मी. वो करना था तो फिर तो मैं यूएस में ही अच्छी थी. Our style was that we are going to create a long-term financial institution. So get to scale very quickly and then get to profitability very quickly. Because once you are profitable, then you are not dependent on fundraising. And this is exactly what we have done.
So did that bring you and Bipin closer? Like during
Yeah,
those tough
obviously adversity always brings you closer, right? Like you have a common enemy.
times? Sometimes people run away also, you know.
No, I think that yeah, it has brought us closer. I think that whole thing that I didn't want to mix my personal and professional life, वो तो ultimately सब कुछ वो हो ही गया. So now we are in it together and we are all in. Let me put it that way. Along the way, we also wanted to create a support ecosystem for ourselves in the company, which means that the pressure can't always be on us.
As a woman co-founder, did you feel difficulty in terms of like dealing with investors? Although you are a very, very bold woman, but did you feel that, there was any discrimination, any of those things being, or they want to listen to Bipin more than you?
Not really. I don't think that I've seen that, and times have also changed in the last 10, 12 years. I think one thing I want to say that in the current time frame, all of the people who are starting right now, the early stage ecosystem in India is fantastic. I think there are so many accelerators, angels, seed funds. There's a lot of opportunity. So when we were getting started, itne seed fund nahi the. It was directly Series A, and angels bhi kam the. I mean, Indian Angel Network was there, but scale was less. So I remember that was the one time I did face discrimination. I met some desi type family office early stage investor. I'm having lunch, I think in Trident or somewhere, and those two guys are there. Very large family. You would know their name, but I'll not reveal. So promoter से उनका एक बेटा है and एक उनका partner है who's running the fund.
Yeah.
So they are like, अच्छा, so you guys are married? So we're like, yeah, ये तो हमने पहले ही बता दिया था, full disclosure. So when are you planning to start a family? I'm like, I'm looking at him, I'm looking at Bipin, I'm looking at him. I'm like, I don't know, I haven't discussed it with my family or my spouse yet, so I'm not sure how I can discuss with you. And then I just moved on from there. But मैंने उनको वापस कभी reply नहीं किया. Like, इनसे तो कभी पैसे नहीं लेने हैं मेरे को.
Correct.
So that does happen. I think that I can tell you that जितने भी global funds वगैरह हैं, I think they're pretty cool. I'm not saying कि globally discrimination नहीं होता है. But I think थोड़ा देसी frameworks को थोड़ा और elevate होने की ज़रूरत है. I don't think that मतलब in the last year बंदी ने IPO कर रहे हैं लोग, वो Vimeo वाले ने भी कर लिया. I remember I was 8 months pregnant and I flew to Mountain View.
Wow.
Because Google ने meeting के लिए बुलाया था.
Damn.
And I was like कि जाऊँ या नहीं जाऊँ, and Bipin was like कि यार तुम्हारा connect stronger है, तुमने वाली में work किया है, तो तुम्हारा जाना सही बनता है. So I spoke with the doctor, I worked out a plan, and she said it will be very safe. ये दवाइयाँ लेनी है plane में चढ़ने से पहले, ये दवाइयाँ लेनी है plane से उतरने के बाद, and you'll be fine. I went for 2-3 days, कुछ नहीं हुआ.
Incredible. That's incredible. Very nice. So, so coming back to in terms of the phase of evolution of MobiKwik in organization, because you are a husband-wife team, how do you divide the structure of the organization? Who has more power? Is there like a power play? Do you have to be favorite with Upasana versus Bipin? Yeah, what's the insight?
So 2-3 things. So इस पे we did early stage में तो everything was gobbled up, but we still try to keep our. I can tell you in the early years, I used to look at all BD, partnerships, hiring, finance, and Bipin used to focus on product, technology, revenue, and all of that. And then as the lines grew larger, and once we had a 200-300 member team, I made sure, एक funny चीज़ बताती हूँ कि अगर office इतना बड़ा है, तो हमारे offices अलग-अलग कोने में हैं. Okay. Like, I don't want to sit anywhere close to you. I don't want to drive with you. I want to go on my own work schedule.
Fair point.
And keep our areas of work separate. So currently in our core team, we have 5-6 CXOs. So the payments business is run completely by a gentleman called Chandan, who we hired many years ago, and he's also now a co-founder in the company and CEO for the payments business. The new and upcoming.
But just a point on that. So they elevated, you can probably tell, because that's a nice way to build your co-founder team.
So I was telling you, so it was important for us also for the same reason to attract talent and build out the team, because see, apart from Bipin and me, nobody in our company is related to us.
Correct.
But I don't want people to think that it's a family-owned or family-run business. So we wanted to always have a fairly strong team. So to that extent, we have a chief product and technology officer, we have a chief financial officer, we have a CEO for our payments business. And the CEO for the payments business had been hired to be a business head many years ago. And then he went from VP to SVP to CEO payments. And then right before the draft filing for the IPO, we decided to make him a co-founder as well, because he was already taking that level of responsibility.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
So I think that's been brilliant. One more thing I'll add is we do have one of the highest, gender inclusivity ratios. So we have at least, I would say 6 or 7 director and VP level women in the company.
Amazing.
Our VP corporate finance.
You should clap for that woman too in there. It's the Women Day. Yeah, it's great.
So I'm saying that, that thing just comes. Like if you are driven and people see that, so that whether it is in our product team or engineering team, we are always encouraging, more women to join and also rise through.
By the way, a lot of, just to give insight, is like a lot of the boards are also now, board members are also making sure that, the senior level management team has women. So that's also a good thing to see, which is unanimous, I've seen mostly. So, so now then you had the IPO plan, and then, obviously MobiKwik faced some challenges as well. That data breach, which was there, then the UPI link payments, etc., which is true in every business will go through that. So kind of, if you can share your learnings, and like also IPO got pushed because now fintech is taking a beating in terms of valuations, etc. So just like quickly in terms of your reflection to all of these challenges, and how do you see path ahead for MobiKwik?
So see, firstly, I just told you that last 2 quarters, December and March, we have become profitable. So we are we are the only profitable consumer fintech in India.
Great.
So उससे क्या हो गया ना, अब destiny is in our hands. So we are no longer at the mercy of the private or public markets. And वो ऐसे ही होता है, जब पैसा नहीं चाहिए होता है तो सब पैसे देने वाले लोग आ जाते हैं. So the future is bright. Of course, India is still going through a very massive digital payment revolution, because in a country of 1.3 billion, you'll all be surprised to know that even today only 300 million people are actively transacting digitally.
Correct.
Using cards or smartphones. And वो 300 को 700 बनाना है, 700 को eventually a billion बनाना है. So there's a long runway of growth in the payments business. The BNPL business, which is now our main focus area, where I want everyone to have a credit card. So, this is a business in which we currently are the leader, with 25 million buy now pay later users being approved on our platform. And the growth in terms of users, their spend, repeat is all very amazing. And in all the digital lending companies in India, losing money is very fashionable. Double digit losses. So हमारे losses 1.7% है, तो लोगों को विश्वास नहीं होता है. So we said, look, we are very much an IPO ready company. We get audited every quarter. Our financials are on our website. We are not public. We are not required to disclose them, but we are already disclosing them. We are already acting like a mature company. We have an independent board, which has to review everything from the financials to...
Also, your board has Radhika, some of the,
So our board is actually, we don't have somebody called Radhika. We have Punita Sinha from ex-Blackstone.
Blackstone, yeah.
We have Sayali, who used to be the founder of Patience. And we have the CTO of LinkedIn, Raghu. And we have an ex-ambassador of India, Navdeep Suri, on our board. So fairly fleshed out governance framework. So we are very much ready. So the thing is, like, now company's performance is amazing. Revenue has doubled, profitable bhi ho gaye. But we also have to look at where the markets are.
Yeah.
So the markets have been terrible since the beginning of this year. And I think delivery is very brave. They got the IPO done.
Yeah.
But I think the comps are not same across all sectors. So we are keeping a very cautious view. So we'll continue building out the company and expect to grow another 100%. This year we have done about 75 million. This year as in March ending in revenue. Next year we are looking at doubling that and having PBT as well. And then yeah, we'll keep chugging profitable quarters, and along the way, as soon as the market comes up, we'll be ready. We'll be there.
That's amazing. We look forward to that. So Upasana, what's your sort of parting words in terms of for the young women founders here who might have aspiration to start something or have started, how to scale it? Like, what are some of the key things during your journey that you learned that you can share with them? You know, some of the pitfalls they should watch out for. That would be, I think, very useful.
See, the first thing is that in today's world, whether you are reading online or whether you're reading on Twitter or LinkedIn, हर जगह लोग ज्ञान पेल रहे हैं. So, and then when you go and meet people who are established in the sector for partnership deals or even meet prospective investors, ज्ञान तो आपको भर भर के लोग दे देंगे. But you have to be clear as to what your vision is and what your go-to market is. You can't keep changing it because X said so or Y said so. You listen to everyone, but you filter out whatever you think is not relevant to you. And so that's my number one thing. Stay true to your mission, because ultimately consistent delivery on a mission is what people are willing to appreciate.
Right.
That's number one. So vision clear hona chahiye. From time to time agar change ho to wo bhi with the thought through process hona chahiye. You need to have a good team in place. Along the way, the people you need for a team will also be different. Early stage, you need people who are willing to believe in you. So firstly, you have to sell yourself, in the sense that people have to honestly appreciate that you are doing this for a reason, and why should they jump in and work with you for very little or peanuts or just equity. So, and then as you evolve, then you need to make sure you give people good market salaries, but still give them equity or ESOP upside for them to be fully committed. Like 9 to 6 job करके तो कभी कोई startup बनने नहीं वाली है. So team is important, mission is important, and third thing is, I think that more things. Third thing is inner gumption and resilience, because more often than not, things will go wrong. Things will go wrong more often than things go right. And when things go right, पूरी दुनिया आपको कॉल करेगी, WhatsApp पे congratulate करेंगे, social media पे congratulate करेंगे. Success has 1,000 mothers.
Especially आधा, you know, like media वाले. Sorry आधा.
नहीं, मीडिया वाले तो दुख में भी है ना, उनको तो कंट्रोवर्सी चाहिए, तो सब कुछ गड़बड़ है.
दुख में भी लिखते हैं, सुख में भी लिखते हैं.
बट
दुख में बड़ा गंदा लिखते हैं.
दुख में बड़ा गंदा लिखते हैं. मतलब इट्स लाइक अब तो कुछ तो प्लेटफॉर्म्स ही ऐसे बन गए, उनका काम ही है कि आज किस पे हिट जॉब निकाला जाए, अगले मंडे किस पे हिट जॉब निकालेंगे. सो दैट्स ओके. मतलब वो सब चीजों से नहीं परेशान होना है. यू जस्ट हैव टू लिव थ्रू दैट. एंड I think if you stay strong internally and you keep a bonded team together, you can get anywhere. Fourth point I will add, which is something I have learned, that as women, at some point, you know, our personal lives are always competing with our professional lives. It's for men also, but for women, it gets slightly harder.
Way more than for women, I would say.
And yeah, I definitely think that for a woman to be as successful as a man, I mean, if Bipin works 2x harder, I have to work 4x harder.
Correct.
That is what I think is for most women also. But the point I wanted to say कि उसमें क्या होता है ना, you focus on your work, on your key focus area, whatever you are achieving for the company. And this whole concept of business networking, for using it, whether it is for getting large partnerships done, for hiring the right people, for investment, ये बहुत important है. And during different times in our journey, हमने तो बिल्कुल external outreach बंद कर दी थी, because you are so focused on कि profitable होना है, यहाँ पे cost कम करनी है, ये revenue बढ़ाना है, and एकदम inward focus. तो वो focus भी ज़रूरी है to build a business at its strength. But at least one person in the founder team or the core team has to be externally focused.
Definitely.
Whether it is for PR, whether it is for investor relations, whether it is for just building the buzz of the company. So that's my learning, and I think this is one area where I find, it's a larger men's club. See, people are not inviting as many women ki let's have drinks in the evening, or let's meet on a weekend over golf, because मैं golf तो खेलती नहीं हूँ. So you have to find other ways to make sure that you don't lose out on whatever potential networking or deals are happening in those all boys club. So that's
Agree. So I'll ask last question and then I'll open up. How do you make decisions, both for personal and business? Is it gut or is it more data driven? A mix of both. Like, how do you decide? Because you'll have to, as at your level, make decisions on hiring, new product launches. So what's your process?
So it's a mix of both. I would say that if it is something about business, इस area में invest करना है या नहीं, all of that, it will be more driven by numbers, and then also a pulse for कि अब आगे क्या होगा market में. When it comes to people, we are far more focused on the authenticity of the person and the attitude of the person. So if Miss X and Miss Y come for the interview for the same role, if Miss X is slightly better, like 9 out of 10, and Miss Y is 7 out of 10, but Miss X को बहुत ego है, attitude issues है, arrogance है, तो we'll never hire. We always want to have a person जिसके साथ अब ये सब मेरे को, I don't have time to manage different people.
जिसका chill कर सको भी.
हाँ, आराम से जो है मुँह पे बोल सको, like that. So we hire for the right attitude. When it comes to decisions on deals, partnerships, etc., I think it's a mix of both. So the person you are, the ambassador on the other side, whether it is a investor or in our case a large bank, that person is also important. So therefore there's an element of sort of non-data. Like the commercials may be very good. So I can give you an example. अब आपको अच्छा नहीं लगेगा, but फिर भी मैं देती हूँ.
मैंने तो कभी इंटरव्यू नहीं दिया तो.
नहीं इंटरव्यू की बात नहीं.
मतलब आपको.
सीरीज डी हमने जब रेस की थी, तो हमारे पास एक चाइनीज इन्वेस्टर से 110-120 मिलियन डॉलर की टर्म शीट थी, और हमारे पास बजाज फाइनेंस से 35 मिलियन डॉलर्स की टर्म शीट थी. तो हमें तब लगा कि यार ये चाइनीज लोगों ने हमारा बहुत सिर खाया टर्म्स पे, बहुत आगे पीछे ऊपर नीचे किया. हमें लगा कि हम इनके साथ नहीं कर पाएंगे काम, ये उल्टा पड़ जाएगा, तो हमने वो टर्म शीट नहीं ली. हमने 100 मिलियन डॉलर छोड़ दिया और हमने 35 मिलियन ले लिए.
Comfort level. Yeah, that's important. Okay, I think exhausted my time, so I'll open up for the great audience here for Upasana.
Okay, I'll ask you. Read through your journey. Something that struck me was that you already had, Vipin already had the product ready.
No, product was not ready.
It was not ready.
Just the website was ready. The concept he had, product was not ready.
But then you already made your team. So that kind of struck me that the emphasis is more on creating a good team before. So how important do you think is it to have the right kind of people than having the product first?
No. So I want to clarify there. So we made the product on numerous boards and papers. He did the back end coded. I did the front end coding. After that first team left, पहले उन्होंने काम किया. After they left after 3 months, then we did everything from scratch. So मतलब चाय बनाने से लेके HTML design से लेके everything, writing the content of emails, success email, failure email, everything we have done ourselves. So you have to get into the details at least till a certain level. So product is important. Yes. Yeah. See, it depends totally, right? If you don't have too much money to spend, then most of the brains in building the original product manager is the founder of the company. And once you've reached a certain scale, then you can have a team where you can explain your idea, on a piece of email or a board, and then somebody else will be able to take it forward from there. But wo stage pe aane mein time lagega. Product is very important.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Upasana, very motivated and a brilliant morning start to listen to your story. I think one question that I want to ask is that when you were going through a particular challenge or a particular difficulty in the initial phase or maybe the later phase, how did you come out of it? What does one do when they're down and there? I know it's very easier said than done, but in those moments, what's the one thing which acts like a booster or act like a catalyst for you to wake up and have the same grit the next day despite going down?
See, 2-3 things are there. Different things work for different people. One is when you talk to your key people in the team that you trust, and many times they give you a lot of confidence, other times you give them confidence. Second is, I read a lot of interesting biographies. So you have seen, like, whether you've read Andre Agassi's Open or whether you have read the Nike founders, book, you've seen the kind of difficulties people have overcome to reach, the stage they have reached. You should see how Serena Williams' father collected balls from a garbage bin to have balls for them to play. So you get inspired, like people have had less and achieved more. So that's one. And abhi kisi din kuch bhi nahi chal raha hai, so then I will be like, for that day, just leave it. Let's go home, kuch maze karo ya go out, have some wine, beer, relax, and then next day morning get started with a fresh perspective. So you don't let the down stay with you. It's very important, by the way. We don't speak much about it, and now there has been some talking about it coming through, but I think the ability to manage stress, or actually to not take too much stress, is very important if you are going to be an entrepreneur long term.
So have you initiated any mental health programs in your company?
So during COVID, we had brought both otherwise and mental fitness programs to our employees, and I don't have the stats on how many have used it, but we brought programs where the company paid and anyone could use these platforms. But I personally think that for founders also it's very important.
Yeah.
And fitness also helps. Like if you focus on one physical thing, that also helps you get a lot of stress out of your system.
For investors also it's very important. Company fund to nahi rahi.
So it's what we keep hearing from women founders, and since you are a husband-wife team, when you went and pitched to investors, did they look at you separately? First of all, was it you pitching or your husband? And was there a difference in how an investor perceived you? If it was you, were you always the second supportive person that they thought of, or did you feel there was no bias in the investor's mind? Because a lot of our female founders tell us that happens all the time.
Yeah, so the first thing is that men or women, husband or woman, set aside. Let's assume that I was not, like, let's say there are 2 men and 1 woman founder, 2 women and 1 man founder. Any investor who wants to put in money, doesn't matter who started the meeting with, eventually they want to know each and every person is strong and confident, because the team is going to take the company forward, not one person, even though one person may be interfacing more with investors. So that's number one. Number two, when it comes to investor meetings, so it depends on who has initiated it. So for example, if I've met somebody in the past and I have the right context and background with them, so when they've come to our office, let's say for the 3rd or 4th meeting, and they've not yet met the other co-founders, then they want to hear more from them. And I'm not going to be talking much because they've already spent one-on-one time with me enough.
Correct.
The flip side is also there. जैसे हमारे एक investor है ARDIA, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. So there the principal is Tejinder Singh. He's a Sardar. So of course Bipin would initiate the conversation and we will play the supporting role. You have to let people's personal connects also play through.
And that's a very important point.
To your strength.
But you haven't felt any bias, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I haven't. But you have to balance it out. Who will have a better... See, the other person's personality also matters, right?
Correct.
Like you have to gel with that person.
Actually, I interact a lot more with Upasana than Bipin. I mean, I hardly know Bipin, to be honest with you. Another thing, I think she's making a very, very important point. That it is, we don't invest in single founders. We are never invested in single founder. Because बहुत मुश्किल होता है, India वैसे ही काम करना मुश्किल है. With single founder, it's almost impossible. Right. And I think playing to strength is very important. So I think Upasana is, probably connected to some investors who are, more close to you, and then Bipin would do the same thing, right? So yeah, using strength. Also, in case of Flipkart, just to share the story, Bini was very operation focused, while Sachin was taking care of the investor. So that's how they could raise so much money. So very, very valid point.
So right now, like you had asked before, we've made it fairly set up like that. Like last 1 year, I am only doing external facing things, and the business is being run by Vipin and Chandan completely.
Nice, got it. Any more questions?
Hi.
Yeah.
If that's okay, I mean.
Go ahead.
So I think you run your business and set up your business on solid fundamentals, right? P&L driven, very mission, vision oriented, clear from the start. How, and of course, the consumer finance landscape's changing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Getting funded on a daily basis in various different amoebic directions, right? How do you balance your need for profitability with your need for, let's say, innovation or stuff that you need to fund going forward? Because obviously consumer fintech is going a certain way.
Yeah, so good question. So I think I would say that there are different stages. When you are starting year 0 to 1, it's all about product market fit. Year 1 to, let's say, year 4, and if you want to keep in parallel, let's say series B, C tak, it's all about growth. But see, usme kya ho raha hai na, in the market, it can't be growth in just in users. It has to translate into something, GMV to revenue, eventually contribution margin. I would say that by the time you are 5 years and 5-6 years into the company, if you still don't know what is your contribution margin, revenue minus direct costs, then there is something wrong. And in today's age, I would say all VCs except super early stage are saying not growth at all costs, but profitable growth. Which means that even if you can't pay for your employees and all of that, can you at least pay for all the direct costs of the business? I think that is sort of how you should think about it.
Upasana, firstly, you're nothing less than a role model for me, and I'm sure all the women in this room and outside the room. So thank you so much for sharing your story. It's really inspiring. My question to you is very basic, but very critical to me. For an aspiring entrepreneur, do you suggest if we have identified a problem statement in a market where we have not worked, like you have worked earlier in the same industry and then you went on to do this amazing work. Unlike that, if I'm a lawyer and a director at a SaaS company, but eventually I find out a problem wherein I have not had a practical experience, do you think it's a good start? Do you think I should put put everything and all stakes in it, or is it a better idea if I'm an aspiring entrepreneur to do something that I've already done?
No, you can do something in a new sector. There is no problem absolutely about it. You shouldn't feel limited to your own sector, but you should be willing to do the hard work of reading, research, meeting the people to verify that what you are thinking, what your unique vision is, whether that meets, the bar of substance or not. It shouldn't be that because you are ignorant of that sector, so you're making assumptions which are not real. And or somebody else in your team should know about it. So you'll have to do some extra work in getting up to speed on that sector. But yeah, I don't think that there is any limitation.
So I think critical would be to have a co-founder, somebody who has real-time experience in that field.
Yeah, I just add to that, just also the problem that you're trying to solve, right? That has to be clearly understood, like what's missing, right? So like payments maybe bahut cheezein hain. So what is the particular thing you are trying to solve? That's very critical.
See, the whole reason why you do a startup is you do something that nobody else is doing. And people should call you crazy that why are you doing this? Nobody is doing this. Why will this work? Agar wo nahi hai and 10-20 other people are doing the same thing, then you should not be doing that.
Ab bilkul mat karo.
And also she said, listen to everybody, will you follow what you feel inside me?
Hi, thank you for such a candid, insight into your life and your journey. Just wondering, as I understand, your core skill starting out was technical. And when you start a business, you have to sort of also learn all the other skills. The business side of it, I mean, being from Gujarat, a lot of it came naturally. But how did you upskill to really be the person driving a business, coming from a technical skill background?
It's a very pertinent question. So, see, product and engineering and how to talk with those people and get those things done, I knew, you're right. And then after that, hiring मैंने कभी नहीं की थी, right? I worked at a large company, we hired junior people, but I was just interviewing. I was not screening, I was not calling people, all of that. Not only hiring, think about like in the payments business, you move like 100 rupees and you make 1 rupee out of it. So you're moving like billions of dollars, right? So finance is very important. And all 3 co-founders in the company are engineers. कोई भी उस background से नहीं है. And until last year, finance was reporting to me. So that was also a headache, like tax, direct tax, indirect, GST. IGST बहुत सारा है उसमें. So you have to hire the right people and you learn along the way. There's no, I truly say that MBA cannot teach you what working at a company or running your own company can teach you.
For sure. Jack Ma, by the way, Jack
सब
Ma
कुछ
never
सीखना
went.
पड़ता है.
उसने अप्लाई किया हार्वर्ड में 10 बार पहुंचा नहीं. So he always says that I never went to Harvard. That was the best thing which happened to him, which forced him to start a business.
So, Upasana, congratulations for running such a successful business and sharing your insights. But on a lighter note, since you and Bipin both were married for a while when the business kind of was setting up, how often did you carry the business to bed? Did you draw a line somewhere that you're not going to discuss work at home, or was it how did that part work?
So the business lingo at least always comes to home. So I was just telling a joke yesterday. Like my son tells me that if you buy me this book, if you give me fish for food, then मैं ये करूँगा. And that's the deal. That's the best deal I'm willing to make. तो वो उसने मेरे से ही सुना है और वो मेरे पे ही apply कर रहा है.
Quick learner.
Quick learner. So it doesn't stop, but I think you reduce it. The way it gets reduced is if you have enough things filling your personal life, whether it is parents, kids, etc. So then you have to focus on them also. And you try to, reduce your talk about work. But वो 100% zero होगा ऐसा नहीं होगा.
You have to somewhere, I feel like, draw that line, which unless and until both the partners or both the founders have decided to do it.
But it's not just about founders. I'll tell you flip side. अब आप कहीं वेकेशन पे जाओगे, आप नेक्स्ट वेकेशन खत्म करके आप ऑफिस आओगे तो आप नहीं डिस्कस करोगे ओ आई वेंट टू गोवा एंड इट वाज सो ब्यूटीफुल एंड ये वो. यू विल आल्सो चैटर एंड गॉसिप. सो you chat about your personal life at work also. Similarly, you chat about your work at home also.
But do you guys take time separately from each other away? Like basically you go on solo trips because नहीं तो travel भी together, office में भी इकट्ठे. और कितना देखोगे यार एक दूसरे को?
इसीलिए तो ऑफिस में नहीं देखते ना एक दूसरे को. हमारी मीटिंग्स भी अलग होती है, हमारा काम ही बिल्कुल अलग होता है.
Got it. So you don't meet each other at work basically?
Yeah,
Not
we
much.
don't meet much. It would be maximum for 1 hour for some top priority issues. Otherwise, वो अपने product और P&Ls drive कर रहा है. मैं investors से मिल रही हूँ, bankers से मिल रही हूँ, ये सब PR वालों से, journalists से मिल रही हूँ. तो अलग ही दुनिया में है.
No, we love
Abba is
journalists.
like मेरे को क्यों कर रहे हैं?
No, journalists are very important. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Is this working? Yeah.
Yes, I'm welcoming the first question from a mail.
Yeah. Thanks for the support. There's one there.
I am from MWF, Men Who Follow.
Oh, wow.
I just made that up. Sorry. we need to collaborate. Yeah. I just made that up. Sorry.
Crowd funding यही हो जाएगी.
Okay, to the question. You mentioned stick to your vision, but it may evolve after strategic thinking. So has it evolved for you guys from day one or year one? And if yes, what was that critical moment? And how much has it evolved and where to?
Okay, so when we started out, we always wanted to do a digital wallet. And to that, we started with bill payments use case. Then we went on all e-commerce websites and apps that pay with MobiKwik as a checkout option. We had not thought about physical retail, but our competition forced our hand and demon happened. So we also went to the mother dairies and the Geos and the Reliance Freshes of the world. हर जगह QR code लगाया. So वो evolution हुआ. Then right at the beginning, so the backstory, when I had come to India and when I had not joined Bipin formally, that 1 year I was working for non-profits. And with that non-profit, I had gone to Bihar and UP, कुछ जगहों में, Sitamarhi, if I'm forgetting. And they were doing work there. And I was trying to understand कि हम यहाँ पे what can I do? And I figured out कि they were trying to do microfinance and all of that. And बहुत ही जैसे super efficiently बोलते हैं ना, super inefficiently हो रहा था. And then that's when I also realized कि मुझे पहले कुछ टेक करना पड़ेगा, उसको कुछ स्केल करना पड़ेगा, फिर उसके बाद अब इन लोगों के लिए मैं कुछ कर पाऊंगी. So that was the original thesis. So coming back to Demon time, that's when we started thinking more clearly that how can we serve the user better in addition to payments, because of course payments में revenue हमेशा कम रहता है. And it's also not a sticky user because कहीं पे 50 cashback, कहीं पे 100 cashback मिल रहा है. And that's sort of why we started building and we launched our buy now pay later product in 2018, 4 years ago. So that was the evolution कि payments है, payments के ऊपर we'll start giving people small ticket credit. It has two impacts. One is these are people who don't have a credit card or an active credit product. तो उनको अपना first credit product मिल रहा है, and that is a far sticky value proposition than 100 rupees of cashback on some other platform. So the user is sticking more. User is sticking more, user is doing more transactions, so therefore we also make more revenue per user. So in a way, from payments to bring digital financial services to the consumer, or the next 500 million that is called, I think that has been sort of the evolution. So if you think about it, evolve hua hai, but if I think about many other companies, I don't think that we've evolved much. I think our focus is pretty clear. And it was, ab meko lagta hai it was supposed to happen like this only.
Yeah, just to add that we are financially starved, right? Because even in India, even now, there are 30 million credit card users max, right?
That's right.
And if you look at 1.2 billion population, I mean, America में हर एक बच्चा credit card के साथ पैदा होता है. India is just so credit starved, so there is so much more room to grow. Same on insurance. I mean, I have friends here sitting from insurance world. The whole financial services inclusion is still at a very small.
And the worst part about it is that we have billion-dollar companies, banks, NBFCs, insurance companies, but they are all focused on all of us.
Correct.
Top 100 million Indians who make more than 1 lakh rupees per month, which is less than 10% of India. 90% of India makes less than 50,000 rupees per month.
Yes, absolutely.
And ये सारी multi-billion-dollar organizations, इनके लिए कुछ नहीं बना पा रही है because their model is distribution is branch-led. They've not figured out digital. And which is why a platform like MobiKwik, which is fully digital, so our operating cost of reaching the customer is so low that we can actually make a large impact. We can see if a Kotak is going to make 1 lakh rupees just from Tej's account in a year, I'm going to make 1 lakh rupees from 1 lakh users. So 1 rupee per user. That kind of model is how I'm thinking about it.
Absolutely. Also scale through tech, basically. Hi Swati.
Hi Swati.
What's up?
This was so nice. I mean, I've been seeing Upasana for so many years, of course, and we haven't really caught up. So that was an additional draw to come sooner again.
Thank you.
But me and my husband also run the business together. And when somebody asked her about the couple, I just wanted to shout out, "See, koi line nahi hai." Koi line nahi hai, office mein, ghar mein bhi. And I think sometimes we are so used to it that we like it like that. So when we go on holiday, I remember we went to Maldives in November, and Rohan's idea was, when we're sitting on the beach, now we can do the product road. And we said, why not? Imagine if it's sundar jagah hogi aur hum aaram se अपने thoughts gather कर सकते हैं. I said नहीं, क्या तो एक सुंदर जगह पे हम ये thoughts नहीं सोचेंगे. So that's just the entrepreneur DNA, I guess. And we all come to love it, and we all come to accept ourselves without putting additional pressure of actually going that line. Because sometimes that is additional pressure. Just letting it be is actually fine also.
Yeah. Thanks, Swati.
Hi, Upasana. This is working, right? Hi, I'm Rutuja. My question is to you and maybe a little to Tej as well. So, the market tailwinds currently suggest that there might be a repeat of the whole 2015-2016 era of like startups getting funded, and what you call as the funding winter might be close. And this is literally all the gyan that I read on Twitter, like you mentioned. Wanted to get your take on it, and what do you think will help companies really like see through it, considering that you've been part of like one such cycle. So wanted to hear from you on that.
Should we hear Tej's words first? I think this is a pertinent question. Winter कब आ रहा है Tej?
Winter आ गया. I think so. It's So after every bull run, there is obviously a winter because the money can't be circulated in the same flow. So this was written on the wall, last, and Upasana can tell you, November में आप अगर मिट्टी बेचते हो तो उसको भी valuation मिल रही थी. So it was crazy times. So for us as an investor, it was great time because I exited 2 of our businesses. कि भाई पैसे निकाल लो, right? अच्छा time है. See, my fundamental belief is that if you are building a business which is sustainable, then there is no bad time, right? And like Upasana was mentioning, turning into profitability inward. But if you are making a pack of cards business where you are fueling the consumer growth through cashbacks, through inorganic methods of acquiring customers who will not retain to you unless you. It's like drug. किसी को cocaine देते रहो. But when the cocaine stops, he's going to run away, right? So that's why you see Robin Hoods of the world crashing, right? India also, we have seen a bunch of companies which have, listed at unrealistic valuations with no proper business model. Obviously, the bad news is the retail investor suffers because they don't know. For us being investors, we know. So we don't, we cash out. so that's the bad part of it. So you have to be educated in terms of understanding what it is. So coming back, funding, like Delivery went IPO yesterday, right? So, and it's probably one of the most difficult environment to go IPO, and they will close, right? So, which is a good news. It's a
60% subscription.
Yes.
And retail was a little low.
Right.
Subscriptions primarily institutional, and I think institutional and HNI. Retail and QIB is 60%.
Retail.
And HNI.
That's right.
How long is
How long is the winter?
Yeah, so just to finish this point is that basically there will be money for good companies.
They talk about stages also, na? कि किस stage पे
Yeah,
ज़्यादा
sure.
है.
So like late stage is suffering already. So basically it's public market, like public market crash. Obviously US, all tech stocks are down 80%. So in my view, this is the time you guys should buy. It's a great time to buy again. Then it will come down to late stage investments because all people who are lined up, pack of card companies, they can't go IPO anymore. So late stage, you've already seen a lot of drop happening on the companies which are not sustainable revenues and profitability. Then comes obviously Series B, growth stage companies, right? वहाँ पे भी slow down हो गया. And then Series A, I think is still okay. So you can still, if you have idea on paper plan, you will still find somebody who can fund it because there's a lot of cash still available. So वो stages में move होता है. सबसे पहले public market effect होता है. And this is like known phenomena. It's not new. So when last year some of the smart investors were telling their companies to load up on cash as much as they can, so that they can sit, and sustain even if there is no fundraise for a couple of years. Like for example, Bharat Pays already got like $400-500 million, right? You guys also raised during that time MobiKwik. So a lot of good companies actually raised money and they look at a vision of delaying IPO and going. But the basic fundamental thing is, are you building a fundamentally good business which consumers will love? And if that happens, then you will get funding. That's my view.
I think my view is very much aligned to what he's saying. I think that if you are building a good business and if you have especially if it's an established business, if you have the right economics to show, then it's never a bad time.
Correct.
Winter means that instead of, out of 10, 3 people converting, it will be 20 में से, या 20 नहीं तो 50 में से. But some or the other will, see, people are also sitting with money, right? They also have to deploy it. For how long will they not deploy it? Because their funds have cycles. So the fund may 1 year you cannot not deploy anything.
Yeah. So just coming to that point, there is still about $4 billion in India, which is sitting with funds which has to be deployed. But the only thing is, what happens as investors also, when we see these kind of signs, we also start focusing on unit economics, rather than growth. So वो सब fundamentally shift हो जाते हैं. But for me, I always believe कि at the unit level, like CM1, which we use as a acronym, you should always be profitable, because after that you can burn money to grow and sustain your consumers. Yeah.
Thank you. You're gonna have to ask the rest later. But guys, a
Thank
big
you.
round of applause, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Abba.